Okay, welcome everybody. Christina Merkley here, and it's another one. This is our third one of what's emerging, these online process groups for working our emotional, mental stuff in this amazingly unique situation we find ourselves in, where we come together around the globe with something that's impacting all of us in different degrees, depending on the immediacy of what's going on in our particular region and how things are responding. So lots of different scenarios in our collective here with this united thing that we're all going through. So I'm going to make this quick because on previous webinars I have shared more of a kind of overview about me and this way of working. I'm going to direct you to that. I'm going to screen share now and just share a couple of things. I want to bring up where this page is. Bring a couple things over here. There's several pages I want to share with you, and I keep kind of creating things as things are emerging. So first off, if you're not aware of it, most of you probably are because you came here to find the link. There's a page under my site, Shift to Coach, where it says /community support. And I mean community in the largest sense of the word too, right? Yes, I'm work and a lot of you here are visual practitioners, but this is expanding beyond visual practicing. My practice always has been. So if you're a visual practitioner, wonderful. If you don't know what the heck visuals are, wonderful, it's okay. What we're going to be doing here today is actually using visuals to do our processing work. You don't have to be a fancy visual practitioner in order to be able to do this stuff. If you can write or print, even if it's not legible, you can use these tools to help you do your processing work. This page here, if you scroll down it, the reason I'm bringing it up is that there's a whack of tools on it, all these links. And with these sessions, I'm using these tools. I have a lot of stuff that I've created with my visual coaching work and that I train people in with my certification with this stuff. And I've gone through and I've cherry picked out. This is the first time I've, to this extent, shared stuff publicly like this, but the need is here. And I want to get this stuff out to people who could be using these tools to do their own processing work, to settle themselves so that you can move yourself up the vibrational scale, emotional scale a little bit here, so that you can be settled yourself and settled in the people that you need to interact with, and just have a clear mind and get into aligned actions when actions are apropos to do. Anyway, these tools are all here. In the previous two webinars, I shared one called Flip It and also the planetary magnetism map. And I'm not going to do those ones today. I will reference them. I'm going to do a couple more because I want to go through these tools that I've shared so you can understand what they are, and you can kind of cherry pick amongst them to find the ones that are going to meet where you're at, that are going to be most helpful for you. So today, my plan is to do the future self and then also to do orphan rescue. And I'm going to explain a bit more about that. Pat is going to, in the chat function, we should be able to put in some files. So she's going to put in files of the two maps that I'm going to be using today and leading you through. It could be helpful for you to have those maps. So we'll put them into the chat, and when they're there, you can turn around and print them off. Those of you who work with drawing tablets, you can integrate them into your drawing tablet and be able to work with them that way if you care to, with your own drawing and printing that way. If for whatever reason you can't get to those files, or you can't print them off or anything, just grab a sheet of paper, just a normal sheet of paper and a pen. And as I'm going through the processes that we're going to do, I'm going to be asking different questions, and you're going to be getting in touch with your internal wisdom. And you can just take regular basic notes on a sheet of paper. So don't get hung up with having to have the pretty template in order to do the work that we're going to be doing today. Although if you can grab that pretty template and you're into doing pretty visuals, those of us who are visual practitioners know it's really soothing for the soul to do that. So all the power to you if you can figure out the technology to grab those files and to be able to do it. Okay, so that's there on that page. And then as you scroll down lower, you will see people have been asking, are these things recorded? Yeah, they're all recorded. And you can go back, especially have some time on your hands and you want to do some good process work and you weren't there for previous recordings. You can, we've got video recordings, audio ones, we've got the maps of what I created at that point in time. So that's all there at the bottom of that community support page. The videos are also up on my YouTube. My YouTube is Shift It Coach. Okay. The other thing is that I have recently opened up, we're going to be doing, this is group process work. And it's valuable and it's really powerful and it's fascinating to bring people together and see the different perspectives that's happening for all of us. So this is great in and of itself. And there's only so much I can do depth-wise with people when we're working in a group. And I'd like to be able to showcase how to do this stuff, these tools here on this page in more depth, and also give people just needed, help, especially when we get into what we're going to get into today with orphan rescue. If you're really triggered and if you've not just triggered, but if you've got scary, upsetting stuff happening in your now, which we all do to some degree or other, I want to really give that opportunity for people to be able to work directly with me, particularly on the more unsettling stuff, so that I can provide support for you, but we can also record it. You have to be willing to record it. You can do it without, using your name, and you can do it without using your video, but I want to record them so that I can demonstrate to other people how to do the same techniques in more depth. So on this process page, we've got a button. Some of you have found your way to it. I haven't, with the exception of some of my classes, told people about this yet, but there is a click here button that will take you through to another page on my site for free coaching. It's a very unusual situation for me to be doing free coaching. For my coaching are 45-minute sessions, up to an hour time. So I'm doing 8 of them a week for free to be able to work with people to help with this, deep triggering stuff that's going on. And you guys are heroic, those of you who come in here who are willing to record your inner work, because it's going to benefit so many other people. And it expands the impact that I'm able to make with the unique skills and experience I have to get this stuff out into the world so it can help more people. And you visual coaches, those of you who are certified with me, you know how to use these tools. And hopefully I'm demoing and modeling to you the community work that you can be doing as well, because you know how to do these tools, right? And hold space for people. So get thinking about doing similar things with your network of people too. And as that expands, I will make links and connections to, other visual coaches, so we can be doing more process work to aid people. Anyway, you can click through to this page and it explains what it's about for the private coaching and how it works. And you can get into my schedule. It's filling up. We're about halfway filled up. I've made it available till July, right? So right through to June. 8 sessions a week. Also, there's 2 for North American, please use that button. And for anybody who's international, so beyond North America, so Europeans, Asia, Australia, etc., I've tried to free up time in my schedule. I'm going to get up early. I'm not a morning person. I'm going to get up early for you or stay around late for you so that you have some times that are not going to be in the middle of the evening or, middle of the night for you. So, and you can use that international button to click through and find that. And just let me know if you're having problems finding, a time that works for you, for international people. Okay, so that's that. I'm working at home. I'm no longer able to go over to my studio. On my studio, at my desk, I have a big, awesome drawing tablet. It's strapped to this massive stand, which I can't figure out how the heck to disconnect. So I can't lift my massively heavy thing and stick it in my car and bring it home. But I do have my travel tablet. And so it's a little small and it's a little awkward for me to record on and stuff, but I'm going to do my best. It's kind of a makeshift setup here. So hopefully you can see this stuff. what I want to go through, and I'll post these maps onto those support pages as we go previously here. So even if you can't see it, you're going to hear me explain it by my voice. So it's just fine if you can't see it. A couple of things just to set tone here for what we're going to go into. On the left-hand side is, I shared this last time, it's an emotional scale. Those of you who are more into energetics, you know that emotions are connected to energy, right? And we can call it frequency, vibration. You use whatever word you want to use, right? What's going on in your nervous system. So there's a real range here in this emotional scale. And in this group, we may be fully across it. So I just want to point this out. And my favorite question as a coach to when my clients come in is, who are you today? So for everybody, you know, you can take a look at this scale and I'll run through it and determine how you're feeling in this moment, right? If you participated in previous webinars and saw this one, your vibe may have shifted. You may have moved up the vibrational scale, or you may have moved down it. So we'll just do a little calibration here. Along the bottom, these are the gnarliest, deepest emotions for human beings: fear and grief and depression and powerlessness, despair. And some of us may be there, or have people in our networks and lives who are. We move a bit up, we get into insecurity, guilt, unworthiness, jealousy, and then it starts to kind of shift. We start to, believe it or not, move into things like hatred and rage and revenge and anger. And that's actually a step up from all the stuff turned in on ourselves that's lower down that scale. Then we move up into discouragement and blame and worry. A lot of us are probably there: worry, doubt. And then it gets a little lighter: disappointment, overwhelm, frustration, irritation, impatience. Notice that's pretty high. We're starting to get up into 2/3 here. Pessimism, pretty high compared to the other ones. Boy, boredom. Some of you are ahead of the curve with what's going on with the self-isolation stuff. I've been able to talk to people, several of you are here on the webinar, at least from Italy. I do have clients in China, but it's a little tricky sometimes for them to get on the webinars. And I've been talking to you, and yes, it's a scary situation, but immediately you're okay, you're safe, and you're actually getting a little bored, right? As you've been rattling around like Julia, your country house for 3 weeks. You've got yourself lots of projects I know that you're working on, which is awesome. So we may be, depending on how things unfold here, getting into sweet boredom. And what a gift, actually, to have the time to be able to do various things like read a stack of books, or practice your visual skills, or do your processing work, right? Where we have that time to do things. Spend time with your family because they're right there with you. Then we move into, we really cross, there's a hope line here. I always tease those who remember Obama's campaign where he had the thing with hope. That's very important. Someone there knew what they were doing. And where we move into the hope, this is what I'm going to do today with that future self exercise, is we're tapping into hope. And we've got our aspects of ourselves. Some of us are already there. Some of us are very hopeful and optimistic even right now. We're quite high up the emotional scale. But if you are lower down the scale, then I'm going to help you get a whiff of that by bopping you into your future self, where best case scenario self, right, that this has emerged to a place that's a lot better feeling than it is right now. And that aspect of your consciousness can connect with you and guide you with where you are right now. If I finish this off, we move into optimism, positive expectation and belief, enthusiasm, eagerness, happiness, passion. And then the tippy top is joy and appreciation and love and freedom and empowerment. You know, some of these things like freedom, right, where we're having to follow different dictates of our authorities around us right now, probably for very good reason, to understand, you know, what's happening. You know, that sense of freedom, or physical freedom anyway, is being curtailed in response for the safety of the herd and the collective, understandably. And we've got our inner freedom, right? So what we're doing here, this is our freedom to work our own stuff. Larger things may be out of our control, but our ability to respond to those larger things ultimately is. We'll have some triggering and reactive stuff, and that's what this work is about. Once you bring in the consciousness to work with your triggers and reactions, then that's where true freedom really lies. So please feel free to use the chat, and let's hear where people are at. We're probably going to see a full range of them. And I'm going to bring up my chat so I can see things here. Okay. Shares, we've got optimistic, we've got overwhelmed, we've got hope. Some of you are pretty up there in the top of that emotional scale. Positive expectations, expectant, hopeful, quite patient with the whole situation. Wonderful, Lynn. Yeah. Discouraged. Okay. Another discouraged. Yes. Crazed with my own space to work with. I hear you. Loving the time to be present. Doubt. Frustrated. Optimism. See how we're just across the scale here. Worry. So annoyed. Yeah. Impatient. Optimistic. Estranged peace. Different feelings in different contexts. Totally right. When you're considering your children and your parents and the economy, your work, you're going to feel different depending on things. Good. And moment by moment, right? Like, who am I today? It's like, who am I this moment? Okay. Thanks, everybody. Great. So that gives us some shared language. Also, just wherever you are on the scale and as you look around, just doing your best to, love that, like accept it. Don't try to move yourself, even though I'm called the Shift It Coach, and I will be showing you ways to shift it. The first step in that is always to accept where you're at and be kind and loving to that, right? Not like mean to yourself, like I shouldn't be feeling that, or I should be up at this tippy-toppy scale, or it can be frustrating to be with people who have, got very different feelings from where you're at. Okay, let's just get things muted here. Good, as you're coming on. Good. Okay, so that's the emotional scale. And I'll put this up into the, it'll be posted there over on the page where I share everything, because this can be a helpful file. I'll probably just post this as a file in and of itself. I didn't think to do that, but it's a good one to have. The other model here is transitions. This comes from Bill Bridges' work. I was lucky enough to work with him, not work with him, be in his rooms, be in his training back in the days in San Francisco. And he has a lot of great, he's deceased now, but he has a really wonderful transition model that applies for individuals and for anybody, any group, any organization. And we've got an axis here about productivity and time. And you can see this dot line up here is our normal productivity. Goodbye, everybody, right? Normal productivity is not existing right now because of what's happening. And we've got this black line dip happening here. Notice at the very bottom, this is key, and this is where we are right now, just to give some language to it. We're in the neutral zone. And this is really difficult for human beings, especially those of us who might be, if you know the Myers-Briggs, J types, right? Judge or controller types. And a lot of us who are process professionals, we like to do that. We like to be in control, So have compassion to yourself. If you're a J type on the Myers-Briggs and a bit of a control freak, this is hard. This is going to push your buttons, and you have to go to the flip. We have to develop the P, the perceiving, right? Which is like letting go. Some of you are experts at that, where you're really good at just being in the flow and being in the unknown and being in uncertainty. And others of us have to really develop that muscle, myself included. So the neutral zone, this is where it dips. And some of these, this is where the vibrational scale fits in too, because we'll start with denial, and then we might get angry, and then we get kind of lazy, apathy, like screw it, nothing matters anyway, and frustration and confusion. And we've got to hang in this zone until things start to show themselves, even if they're negative, right? Like once we know what we are working with, then we can kind of, human beings are adaptable and resilient. Then we like, okay, now I know what's showing here. I can do something with it. That's why over on the resources page, I've got a take action plan. You can't be premature with action because you're just spinning your wheels. But once the scenario starts to show itself, then we can move into actions, right? So many of you are doing that. Depending on what scenarios are showing up in your world, you're doing what you can do action-wise, and you're waiting for which shoe's going to drop, good, bad, or in between, right, of how to keep moving. Then we start to move out of the neutral zone when that happens. And then we start to move into, you know, some engagement and some excitement, and start to get into new beginnings happening, and the energy's off and running. But it's tough being in that dip of the zone, right? And many of us right now are in that neutral zone place, waiting to see how do we respond and where do we go. Okay, so with that, let's talk about today. Previously, I did a map with you that's called Flip It. And Flip It is where you get your troubling thoughts and reactions out, and you counter them authentically and legitimately with ones that you can find that soften that negative kind of feeling and reaction. So that's Flip It. The last 2 sessions I did Flip It. Refer back to those. It's a really great process. It also works, you're working with polarity here, negative and positives, and we all have aspects of our consciousness, and that's what we're doing, is we're eliciting out the aspects of our consciousness. Here's the negative, is the aspect. If you're in a negative, you're lower down that vibrational scale, you can easily connect with the kind of negative polarity. And then you're going to do the work of finding that the more positive polarity that's in you as well. Many of you are already there, you're in touch with it. A shorthand way of dealing with that is, what's the devil saying and what's the angel saying? And I used that last time, and we talked about different words that you can use. Like over on the angel side, it could be, you know, what's your heart saying, or what's your higher self saying? Or if you have mentors, what would my mentor say? Or if you have a deceased loved one who you connect with, who's like your guardian angel, what would they say? Another one is the future self. So what would myself out there projected in the future say about this? That's what we're going to do today, is we're going to do the future self. Even those of you who are high up the emotional scale, you've got a future self from here. And it would be helpful for you to dialogue with him or her. Also, another one that I hopefully will get to today, but if not, we'll get to later, and you can do it at any time because I've got a whole whack of resources, is the orphan rescue. So those of us who are lower down the vibrational scale, when we get into this stuff here about fear and grief and depression and despair, right? Any of this stuff down the lower part of the scale, probably you've got an orphan going on. It's not only the current situation. The current situation is really triggering and reactive for you because there's other stuff that you or your lineage have encountered that is similar, that's got a whiff of what's going on in the now, that, you know, danger, your nervous system is reacting to. Not to say that the now situation that we shouldn't be reacting to. There may be legitimate things, right, to react to. But if you are getting a major kind of stuff without immediate danger in your now around you, then take a look at this orphan rescue. It's going to peel off some layers so that you will just be dealing with the now situation instead of a lot of these layers from whatever is going on in your past or in your lineage's past that's kind of complicating the now situation. Okay, so that's the orphan rescue. Anybody have it? You can unmute yourself, but anybody have any questions about what I've covered so far, or quick comments about it?
Hello, Christina. This is Jude from
Hi, Jude.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Hi. I just wanted to make a comment about, as you're talking about the lineage and maybe some of the generational trauma that people are holding. I
Yeah.
have a lot of folks in my life right now that are in their 70s and 80s, and there's a big fear around loss of food and access to food, and
Yeah.
many folks are talking about how they grew up in the Depression,
Yep.
and their parents are, either if they're alive or dead right now, that trauma of depression and scarcity and loss, and it's created a real sense of fear that at my age I didn't experience that. So trying to figure out how to hold space for them and help them work through that. So I'm looking forward to using the orphan rescue tool with them.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, and that's exactly why, Jude, and thank you for the consciousness around that. Sometimes that's an aha for people to understand the larger context of anybody, because people can come from all parts of the world too, where these things have happened in more recent times. But certainly for, like you're saying, those of us who have older relatives who go back to the recession times, and that of course is going to be stirred up, or have older relatives from there who might be deceased who went through that. And it's a normal reaction to have when you have that in your family system. And people, it's all this work, by the way, it can look kind of cutesy when we're doing Future Self and Orphan Rescue. And some of you may feel that as you go along with it, but just know that we're actually working with the subconscious. And that's what's going on in this situation too, that the subconscious, some people will be conscious of it too, but that lineage stuff, that the very challenging things that people have gone through in the past, that's what's poking up when we're going through the now. It's scenarios, so we don't know, but most of us right now, yes, there's shortages in terms of people are taking a lot of stuff off the shelves, and we've got some sparse looking shelves or even some empty shelves going on. Most people are having those shelves be replenished as quickly as they're being emptied at this point in time, right? So the scenario is not at a place where it was back for those people who went through what they went through. I've got a client who went through a civil war situation in Latin American region in her family, and this is reminding her of when she was a kid, of having the same thing happen. So the work there will be, if people care to do it, to go to that orphan, that we're not in a civil war right now. I understand that you went through that, and when you see the symbol of sparse grocery shelves, that's going to trigger that orphan. And so there's work that can be done to go, that was then, this is now. And right now, it has not progressed, and hopefully will not progress to that kind of scenario. So that's what we can do with the orphan rescue. For those of you who have those orphans within you, or like what you're doing, Jude, it's just having that compassionate understanding about why people are triggered because of what they've went through. And if they have the capacity to hold space for them to work with those parts of themselves. And what an opportunity too, if you've gone through the whole life and have not had something that has triggered it to that extent, to realize that you have those wounds that you can work with. I'm not saying it makes it all go away, but doing this, it's inner work. Inner work takes off and does a lot in terms of healing these things on an emotional and mental, psychological level, spiritual level even. Yeah, thank you, Jude.
Can I share something, Christina? It's Jody.
Yeah, please.
Jude just reminded me about the cultural layer of this, and I had a similar experience with my dad, who's a residential school survivor, who had that lack of food and the scarcity and stuff. But he also took it one step back when he was like, wow, remember like colonization, when they sent contaminated blankets to like indigenous communities to kill people.
Yes.
So when I hear you talk to Jude, I'm also in my head, I'm like, okay, well, can I process with my dad? No, my dad really isn't at that place where I don't think.
You can process it within you.
Exactly. And then there's the ripples that go out. So I just wanted to mention that ripple piece.
Thank you. Jody, and thank you for representing the First Nation trauma, right? So, and let's keep it going. If anybody else is getting ahas about their lineage and their particular trauma, this is a great opportunity to speak it out and build awareness in our group, because this is the beauty of coming together across the world online like this.
Yeah. Thanks, Christina.
Thank you. Anybody else on that topic? Yeah,
Christina, it's Lori. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I think what I'm dealing with right now, and thank you, Jody, for saying that, but it's interesting for my current personal situation, and being separated from your children, like kids in care, First Nations kids in care, I think I heard is higher than what it was when there was residential school. And to be away from your child in such a fearful time in the world. I'm just dealing with my ex is just denying me my time with my son. So,
oh, Lori, I'm so sorry.
so it's just tough to deal with because the court system isn't running properly, and I'm doing everything I can, and I'm okay, but it's hard.
Yeah, and so just being being with that, you're a healer too, and so don't feel like you have to just heal yourself. Let yourself be that. Just cry. That's a hell of a situation.
Yeah.
I want to do this if this feels right to you. I was going to open up with this. We can, our hands and the symbols of our hands are turning into bioweapons right now. And there's an aspect of that, right? Everybody's afraid of hands and wash your hands. But these hands do a lot of beautiful things. They draw, they write, they create, right? And they also send energy. So if this feels right for you, let's send energy to Lori with what she's going through. Yeah, sweetheart. We can't be there physically, but we can be here energetically. And let's keep it going we might hear others who pop up and have these really challenging, heart-wrenching situations happening. And let's also send our hands to all the people in the same kind of situation, with separated from their kids. We've got the First Nation aspect here, which you spoke to, Lori. So we're sending that to your connection to that network. And I know that there's got to be all sorts of people in this, maybe in this group too, or beyond, right? Where kids and parents are separated. Yeah. And I know in my client base, I have people who are not able to travel to get back home, right? And older parents there, and different health things happening, not actually connected to coronavirus either, right? So that lands very deeply when you can't get to home, because when we're in these kinds of situations, that's what we want to do as human beings, is get to home. So that recognition of separated from home or separated from your people, that's a trauma. That's a very tender place for human beings to be. That's down at that first chakra, survival stuff, abandonment stuff. Yeah. And feel your feelings. Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, much love, Lori.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else? Going once, going twice? Okay. Let's go into...
Hi, Christina, it's Lynn.
Hi, Lynn.
Sorry, a little delayed response there.
That's all right. Yeah.
I just appreciate that we all paused and were present to this moment. So I'm appreciating that. And just wanting to loop back to something between you and Jody, the conversation about when an older generation isn't able to go there and process something for whatever reason. They're, the generation they grew up in, the level of consciousness they have or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, but we can process that ourselves. And what jumped out at me was remembering about spiral dynamics. I don't know how many people are familiar with that model, but one of the most beautiful things that I've taken from spiral dynamics is a way of understanding intergenerational differences is that each successive generation, grows up in a different context, a different world, and has different technology available and has a different level of consciousness. And it's actually the next generation's spiritual task to do that healing for the previous generation who doesn't have the consciousness capacity. It's our job to reconcile our, for example, relationships with parents that may be, really complex or difficult. That is our spiritual work to do. And I found that actually enlightening and comforting for myself, because I've, grown up with a very complex relationship with my mother, for example. So I don't know why that just popped for me.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
What's coming to mind too is Mark, I recommend, I like Constellation Work, and there's a great book by Mark Wallen, and it didn't start with you, and really gets into the contextual stuff. And he also says that it often disproportionately falls on the shoulders of the firstborn.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of us who are process professional types, were myself included, of a first child. Yeah.
It's appreciating that. So
Yeah.
thanks for the reference to Mark Wallen.
Yeah. WOLYNN. Didn't start with you. You might be able to find that for me, Pat, in maybe Amazon, and plunk that in, or plunk in his site or something. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
He does a lot of the neurobiology of it all as well, the neuroscience. And also what they're finding with the epigenetic work is the 3 generations. So what happened to that generation, 3 back, so your great grandmother, that impacts the trickle down. Physically, they're finding too. It's being proven via epigenetic work, and he does a really good job in his book for those of you who are more left brain, understandably, and need the science with it. And it fits in with the work that we're going to do. That seems at some level play or make believe, but it's not when you tie it into epigenetics and that you've actually got this stuff in your biology. Okay, I'm going to share a screen here again, and I'm going to bring up a file, and we're going to go into this future self business here. First thing I want everybody to think about, again, allow where you're at. If you're at the emotional scale and this is down there and it's just too much for you to even contemplate this, that's okay. Be where you're at. Get a blanket, get some tea, watch this. It may trigger you, that's okay. And maybe there might be a time, a moment later on, that you're more accessible to this. And, also group-wise, we're going to do this on, for your benefit as well. If you're not able to do it, we're holding space for you and hopefully creating an environment that you will be able to do it. So let's see, where are we? Future self. Okay. Again, Pat, if you haven't already plunked these into the chat, you can do that so people have the files. And
they're on page 2. Sorry.
pardon me?
I
They're
put
there?
it on page 2. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Perfect. Okay, so do a little shake off. We've been talking about stuff, and we've been kind of doing a bunch of things here. Now we're gonna get into a different zone, a different kind of thing. So kind of shake your body, shift your butt around on that chair. Yeah. Shift state. Get your pencil or pen or marker, whatever, paper, however you're doing this. And you got a bunch of future selves out there. And you're gonna know right now who's the one to go visit. We're gonna go a stretch of time. We're getting beyond the current situation where we're all in this thing with what's going on in the world. I'm a big believer, the world goes on and we're out there, right? World goes on well. And we will get through this particular bubble thing that's happening for us. A lot of things may happen and occur. So I'm not discounting those, but that we will get beyond there to that horizon where things get into maybe a new normal. Maybe they never return to how they've been. And that's not a bad thing necessarily on many fronts. So humanity needs to shift and change here. And this is part of what's helping us to shift. Pain helps us do that. Contrast helps us do that. So we're going out to what intuitively feels right for you in terms of your future self. And I like to do it with a year and a month. So what's the right stretch of time for you? Is it to go out a year from now? 2 years from now? 3 years from now? As I jot out these years, I'm just going to say them here. Notice which one kind of has a resonance for you. And you're going to write down that year. So here we are in 2020. You're going to do a little time travel and bop yourself out there and meet an aspect of your consciousness that's out there. So he or she, are they in 2021? Are they in 2022? 2023? 2024? 2025? Or beyond? Notice which ones land, write that year down, just trust it. This is not a brain thing, this is a body thing. So if your body's responding to one of them, write it down. Even if you're a really heady person, you're like, huh, what do you know? My body just responded to that. Same thing for the month. If you think about January, February, March, blah, 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 there's probably a month in there that zings for you. Maybe it's your birthday month, or it's the beginning of the year or something. Or it's, since we're in March, it's March. Whatever that month is for you, write that down. Now we've got basically our coordinates. We know where to go consciousness-wise. We're going to go to the consciousness of that year and that month. And even as I'm talking, this is your subconscious. It already knows. Your future self knows that you're making this trip. You're about to make this trip. And he or she is absolutely delighted because she's been you. And she knows what you're going through right now. And she loves the heck out of you. And she wants to offer some support and some perspective and some guidance, because you probably have an important role to play, right? In your room that you're in, if you're there with yourself or there with other people. So she really wants to talk to you. He really wants to talk to you. Okay, so knowing that, this is the fun part. We get to figure out some sort of time travel machine. And they may be organic kind of things. I'll rattle them off to give you some ideas, or they may be kind of physical things. So have fun with this. What's your mechanism that brings you forward in time? Is it things like a bubble or a rainbow, or just telepathy? Or does it start to move into machinery like a Star Trek transporter, or Back to the Future car, or Doctor Who's TELUS? You know, each of you, this is the fun part, and you can feel free to put them into, in fact, let's do that. Let's see what's going on as you figure this out. Put that into Ning. Might give people ideas. What's your time travel? What's going to bring you forward? An eagle. Oh, we got another eagle. We got another eagle. Lots of eagles. Glass bubble. Unicorn. Good one. Another bubble. A phone booth. Pegasus. Stargaze. A tunnel that Stargaze used. Sparkly firework thing, a stargate, an antelope. Good, getting into spirit animals, cool. Okay, have fun with it. Again, something's just gonna come to you. Motorized surfboard. We get to have fun in the midst of some of the stuff that's a little scary, good. Okay, that's a good. Stairs, good. There's a nice, simple, practical one, I like that. Good. Step on up to your future self. Okay, you can close your eyes or you can focus on something. Hot air balloon, nice. A genie just blinking, making it happen. Good. Okay, so a couple deep breaths, everybody. You can close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. You can focus on a spot on the floor, look out the window, whatever you want to do. And just take a couple of deep breaths. When you're breathing in, relaxation, peace, and calm. When you're breathing out, just letting go of chatter and natter, stress. Nice deep breath in, relaxation, peace, and calm. Out, just release, relax, let it go. Keep that breathing in and out. Now, some of you are seers, like you're visualizers and you see things. That's awesome. Funny enough, I'm not. I'm a feeler, so I just feel stuff. I don't see stuff. So you're going to maybe see stuff. You're going to maybe feel stuff. Some of you are just going to know and have a sense. Some of you are going to literally hear or taste or smell. Like these are our subtle senses. That's what we're playing with here. That's how you tap into the subconscious. So go with whatever happens. Even if you think you're making it up, you are in your own unique way, which actually has intelligence to it. So trust that. So with those abilities, now you're going to evoke that time travel thing that you determined. And you're going to set the coordinates or basically tell it to take you forward in time. Take you forward to that year and that month where your future self, who has transcended this stuff, lives. And maybe you find that thing moving forward, slow or fast. It starts to move beyond here in 2020 and it kind of moves beyond and pops out of this kind of icky atmosphere. And it moves forward in time and it picks up space and pace and it moves months ahead and it moves into the next year, 2021. And you guys are going to drop off at different places, but it's going to move forward for those who are traveling further. It's going to 22 and 23. And there's a couple more that go all the way out to 24. And some of you go out to 25, so we can feel this group kind of dropping off into their zones as they need to. And some of you go out further, and that's cool. Zoom, you go out where you need to go. Come in for a landing. Pay attention as you come into the space of your future self. You're going to get kind of senses and flashes of things as you come in for a landing. Are you living in the same place that you lived back in 2020? Or, wow, might you find yourself somewhere else? Notice what's going on as you come in for landing. Do you get any colors? Do you get any kind of feelings? Do you maybe know where you are geographically? Find this thing that brought you forward in time. It connects with the earth where your future self lives. Actually feel it coming into landing, right? That tangibility of connecting. And maybe even your feet stepping off or through and your feet touching the land, that world where your future self is, and feel that solidity underneath you. And you can use, if you can use your eyes, your subtle eyes, and just kind of feel yourself looking at that land, maybe sensing it. Is it cement? Is it wood? Are you standing on grass? Is there water, sand? What the heck is there underneath your feet? And maybe you bring your attention from your feet and you move it up and you start to see what's beyond. And what's around you? Are there any buildings? Any nature? What's there? And I know at least one person's there, and that is your future self. They knew that you were arriving and landing here, and they are here to greet you. Get in contact. Find them. They're probably right smack there, but if they're not, put out that call and have them come. And as they come closer and you see them, take them in. Just like when you meet a new person and you get first impressions, notice your first impressions, your first senses. What is he or she like? Look at their clothes, look at their aura, right? People kind of have a feel about them. They ooze something. We're in a best case scenario future here. If you've gone erroneously off to one of those doomsday things that your mind does, get back in that time travel machine and go to the one that you're needing to go to, not to that pre-programmed movie place with all these crazy movies that we get fed. Go to this place of your legitimate future self. Those of you who are with your legitimate future self, take him or her in and be received by them. They were once you, they know what you're feeling like. So be received by them. You're a time traveler from 2020 with this COVID pandemic thing happening. They're like, oh, poor baby, come to me. Be received by that future self. Some of you have touchy-feely future selves and they're loving you all up and hugging you and touching you, right? Patting you. And some of you have more reserved future selves, so maybe you get handshakes or maybe elbow bumps are still around. High fives, right? Hand bumps. Really important to be received and comforted by that future self. Future self's going to lead you somewhere. Notice as they lead you somewhere to sit down and have a conversation, where do they lead you? It's like you're getting a glimpse into their world. Take that in. What do you notice? And then settle in, nestle in where your future self has brought you to have a conversation. As you settle in, this is your opportunity to ask your future self anything that you want to ask. You're traveling from 2020. Each of you have different questions that you want to ask your future self about the micro, about yourself and your family, the people closest to you, your neighborhood, and probably about the macro, right? About the world at large, about your province or state or region or country or zone and the world at large. I'm going to shut up in here in a sec so that you can listen and have a dialogue. Settle into that future self and toss questions at him or her and receive the responses back, even if they're just feelings or colors. Some of you are going to get words. Feel free, you can be, opening your eyes and closing them as you need to write notes down as you're asking questions or receiving answers. It sometimes can be helpful to take notes because you're tapped into this future self. Or you can just sit back and have the dialogue and trust that you're going to remember what you need to remember. I'm going to be quiet here for a couple of minutes and just allow you the time to dialogue back and forth with your future self. And then there's a couple other things that I'll cue you to do with your future self. But for now, dialogue. I'm going to go talk to mine. Your future self has a future self too. And maybe the two of you might want to bring in the future self. because your future self is in the state of evolution too. Sometimes that's fun to get the future self. See if that appeals to you, and feel free to go ahead and bring in the future self. So you can feel that continuation, continuity, evolution, spiral. You keep going to future selves, you know, some of them are going to cross veils, right? All of us will depart this plane at some point. So don't be surprised, some of you, if you do future selves and future selves, that you're going to cross into the afterlife or the beyond, right? The spiritual zone. That can be very fascinating too, and a wealth of information. So if you pop into future self where they've crossed the veil, ask them about what that's like. So many of us right now, we understandably have fears about illness and mortality and death, and going to talk to that future self that actually has crossed that veil can be very helpful and a very interesting perspective. I can tell you that, yeah, you had some screwy ideas potentially about death. It's okay. It's not so bad over here. Don't need to come here anytime soon, but it's okay when you get here. Okay, know that you can continue this dialogue. Some of you are going to continue to dialogue with your future self on a regular basis as we go through this scenario. I've just maybe helped you connect with him or her. So know if the dialogue is being cut short, you can keep doing it. And you can keep doing it as I rattle off some things here too, if you need to. But I'm going to rattle these things off. There's two neat things that can happen with our future selves that are very helpful. Number one is to do a body swap. So ask your future self, hey, future self, are you okay with me inhabiting your body for a moment here? Most future selves will say yes. If yours doesn't, you can ask why and negotiate it. But we don't have to worry about getting any cooties from our future self. We can jump on in there. So when you're ready, you know how to do this. Kids, we knew how to do it. As adults, we can do it. Just do it. Just jump on in there, inhabit that body of your future self, get into his or her limbs, torso, hands, eyes, nose, and breathe through the lungs of your future self. Nice deep breath through the lungs of the future self. And feel what it feels like to be in that future self, in her body, in her energetic, in her knowledge, in her wisdom. Feel that connection that she or he has to their future self. And feel their connection as they kind of look and feel back with you at 2020. And even your younger selves after that, maybe all the way back to some of those triggered orphans. Feel that line. And feel, as you're in there, feel right down to the cellular level of that future self, what they feel like at the cellular level. And when you're ready, you can come back in here at any time, but when you're ready, pop back out of that future self's body. And as you do, because you've tapped into that cellular level, that RNA, DNA, you're taking it with you. As you pop back out and you stand in front of them, you're taking that energetic with you in your cells. It can divide, you leave theirs with them and you're taking, it's dividing into you. And as you stand outside that future self and you're about to return back to the time and place of 2020, your future self has a gift for you to take back. It may be a physical gift that has form, or it may be a formless gift, like some sort of state or attitude or quality. What does your future self give you, knowing that you're time traveling back to the stressful time of 2020? What's the perfect gift they're giving you? Your future self knows you inside and out. What are they gifting you? Thank them for the gift. Some of you may have a gift pop up later. Sometimes it works like that. Whatever's happening, it's okay. Thank them for the gift, receive it well. And the two of you start walking back to where you initially touched down into their world. And as you're walking back, your future self is like, I want you to remember these 3 things. It's like 3 points, like, you're going to forget a lot. You're going to get maybe stressed again, but I want you to remember these 3 things. You can call on these 3 things. What are the 3 things that your future self wants to cut through the noise and have you remember? What do they say to you? If you need to, jot down those 3 things. Taking those 3 things in as you make your way back to that time travel thing that brought you here, saying goodbye to the future self, knowing you can connect at any time, receiving their goodbye. You might also want to set up some sort of communication device with your future self. If you want to get in touch with him or her, or they want to get in touch with you, what's your unique way of communicating with each other? Are they going to tap you on the shoulder? Do you guys have a cell phone or text ability between each other? Do they communicate to you in your dreams? Do they just start talking in your ear or in your stomach or in your heart? What do they do? And then you step back onto that thing, waving goodbye. It starts to get up or hover or starts to move, and it disconnects from that time, knowing you can come back. There's no problem here with transportation. You can transport here at any time. But coming back from this particular trip, finding yourself moving back in time. Those of you who are way out, whoop, you're coming and you're now for 2025, and then you're joining us as we go and get those of our group who are in 2024. We're getting those people, and then all of us are moving to 2023 and picking up people from our group who are there. And then we're going to 2022 and getting those of you who are there. And then we're going to 2021 and we're collecting up those of you who are there. And then we're taking all of us and we're coming back, and you're dropping into your physical bodies and your zones where you are here in March 26 or whatever we are in 2020. And you're coming back inhabiting this body, having come back from the travel with the future self. You're bringing that gift, you're bringing that knowledge, you're bringing that cellular vibration that you experienced with them. You're bringing that all and pulling it into your physical body now, coming back into your head, into your face, into your throat, into your heart, into your solar plexus, into your stomach, into your tailbone, into your limbs, embodying yourself here. When you're ready, opening your eyes if you haven't already done so, in front of the computer, and just taking a moment to jot down, if you haven't already been, any wisdom that you got from your future self. Jot down what their world was like, what they were like. As you can see in the template, their space, their place, their characteristics, any discussion points. The template has a place for the gift. And those 3 main points that they wanted you to get, there's a place for that, right? Those 3 main things that they wanted to cut through the noise to have you remember. And maybe they even gave you, directions on what to do or how to be. If you're not able to do, what are your beings? Yeah, and most of all, that love and that support, that care, that intelligence and wisdom. and compassion. Okay, you can multitask. We're going to use the chat as well. So when you got in there, let's start with the gifts. If anybody's okay with sharing, what gift did you get from your future self? Was it an intangible thing like a quality or something? Or did you get a physical gift? Let's see what gifts we receive from the future self, putting them into the chat. Courage, wisdom, right on. A stone, there's probably something symbolic with that stone. Patience, a book created by yourself, awesome. Wine and confidence, faith, clarity, compassion, love, a healed relationship with technology, yeah. A reciprocal hand on each other's chest, lovely. Eagle feathers, smoky quartz. You are a light in the world. A felted wood ball that I can pull around me and stand inside of. Yay. Gorgeous. Now, what were those wisdom bits? What were those main things that your future self wanted to get across? This is the opportunity of doing this in the group because we can have the shared wisdom from our future selves. You're safe, you're loved, trust yourself, you're not alone, celebrate that these are lessons. You choose. Yeah, back to the power, we have power of that internal choice. It's about joy. You've made the right decision. You're part of a loving community. Happiness does drive success. Take time with your calm. Begin. A multifaceted gem in the shape of a Merkaba. Be smart, be calm, be safe. Now and forever, you are held in okay. You are way stronger than you know. You are way stronger than you know, girlfriend. Your faith and trust will be strong soon. You're going to be the gift of you. Be the true you. You have everything you need. Trust yourself in your process. You're worthy of being seen and valued. I see you. Keep your feet in your roots. Eat well, exercise, be present. A wink, worry less. She's almost ignoring you because she's like, you're fine. You're fine. Good. Yes, we will collect them up. Don't you worry, Lisa, and we will post them. Yes, there's incredible wisdom here. Put your face to the sun. You're lovable and worthy. Now, let's go to beings and doings. Some of you are going to have practical future selves, and you're right now you have some of you things that you can be doing, right? Like what I'm doing, and my future self's like, girl, get up there and do your thing, offer this stuff. It's your game time here, right? I happen to have something that I can do right now because I'm already using tech and I have all these tools. Some of you have, your future selves are telling you, no, nothing for you to do right now, chill, nothing to do. Others of you, depending on your circumstances, they are saying something. Like, go to the grocery store and get this, or go phone so-and-so, or, you know, go do push-ups, go exercise, right? So what are our practical things? If anybody got some practical steps from future self, what were they saying to you about steps to do or things to be? And then any other kind of direction kind of stuff maybe that you got from your future self that you want to share that will demonstrate to the group, you know, some of the breadth of stuff. Focus, take this time to get on it. Share your light with the world. Stay focused. Clutter, you got a lot of paper clutter. Take care of that paper clutter. Keep building your skills. Keep moving forward to the work that speaks to you. Yes. With my community, I have a lot of people, I teach visual skills stuff, practical energy work stuff. So those of you who got your home study kids, keep using them, right? And all sorts of other stuff out there in the world, other teachers who are sharing stuff, huddle in, do your learning. Use this pause, right? Reset, rest, relaxation, fun. Soul sabbatical. Take an annual soul sabbatical. Love that, Shelley. Eat well, exercise, get out in nature, be with your grief. Yeah, don't spiritual bypass. If you're lower at that emotional scale, so-called lower, right? This is grief. Be with your grief. Write it down. Yoga. Use the tools you have. Good. I gave you a lot of tools too. You got other tools too. Use them. Okay, beautiful. I think we're going to pass around the mics and talk about this a little bit, and then I'll explain the orphan rescue just to give it a little highlight, and then probably the next time I come back and do one of these, which it's looking weekly. I don't know if it'll be Thursday, but I think that's what I'll devote to next time, is doing the orphan rescue. But I'll tee it up. So let's just get a little interaction here, because it's so much more interesting to hear all of you. It's awesome to read your chats, but those of you who are comfortable with unmuting, and how was that for you to do the future self? Right, we come into this container and we were where we first entered, but now we did this thing. For some of you, you may not have been able to connect well. For some of you, it would have been a profound connection. Anybody who wants to share, how was it to do that and spend some time with that future self? Feel free to unmute yourself and we'll hear.
It felt reassuring knowing that I was going to be okay.
Mhm.
Awesome, Nita, thank you. Yeah.
This is Estelle. I've usually done Future Self further out, so I did it just 1 year out. And it was really, because it was so close to me now, but different. So the energy of myself was so relaxed and confident and at ease. So that was really good.
I can feel that. You're just, thank you. That I can feel just, she's in you. I can just feel it as you speak, Estelle. Thank
I'm
you.
so excited. Oh.
Yeah, cool.
Hi, Shirley. Every time I look at this, I have a little internal skepticism, and then I'm always caught by surprise when how quickly I get into it and how powerful it is.
Yeah.
And it's a little disappointing because without knowing it, some of the real questions are the same questions I've asked in previous Future Self activities. So I wish that wasn't the case.
Well, just go back and talk to her about that, because she'll be able to guide you, because you're kind of flogging yourself a bit, right? So, and it'll be interesting to see what she says, because her consciousness will be able to respond to you. But if I was to channel your future self, yes, there's this soothing of, whatever, everything's got an evolutionary step here, and you've done a tremendous amount of things, so you can't get everything done, so stop flogging yourself. And then there's another part of it, which is like, yes, honey, there is some stuff that you have been avoiding doing that you do need to do, and go do it, honey, right? She's not doing it in a taskmastery way. That would be the judge. But she's doing it in a loving way of like, yeah, and now's the time, friend. Yeah.
Well, I have a sort of a theory in my head that the lack of some of the energy feeling, or the lack of energy, has to do with some foundational lack of happiness, and sort of a little secret inside, or a little diagnosis inside that I think about. And to my surprise, it came out the first thing, and that was that that happiness is equal to energy, and that you really can't have both of them. Meaning, so that was, I don't know, maybe it's self-serving because I'm giving myself the answer I wanted, but it was interesting how it bubbled up first.
Well, and what's going on too is left brain and right brain, right? So the right brain is so different. Those of us, and you're a little more left brain, I'm left brain too. So that's what's popping up is your left brain, right? And so you said it beautifully. The left brain's like, I don't know about this stuff. I know I've done it and it works every time, but every time I go into it, I don't know, right? This is a little hokey. But then the right brain's like, I'm here. It is not hokey. And thank you for finally connecting. I can get something over the wall to you. And then the left brain, boom, gets it. And then it starts discounting like, you know. So, you know, you just have to work with the tension and don't make it wrong. And
No.
yeah. Thank you. There was something else I could feel, but anyway, I can't feel it right now. So I'll come back to it if it emerges, surely. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
Hi, Christina.
I know what it was. One sec. I'll go with that. Kristen, it was the systemic. So the thing about the unhappiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our world is not structured in the best way for everybody to be in happiness. We have very stressful systems. We have very stressful things. It would be bizarre if we weren't at some level of unhappiness for most of us, right? And I think that's part of what's going on here is it's bringing that, especially when you can't be out and running around doing all the things that we do to distract, we are forced to look at that directly, and the ramifications of what are happening in the world is tied to our ways that we have structured ourselves as a society and worlds. So we have some system change to do, and that hopefully with those systems change, there will be that trickle down effect happening, that those structures being changed are going to impact each of our individual lives so that we do have more room and ability there to live genuinely happy and satisfying and healthy lives. So that's what emerged when you were said that. That's what came forth from me, Shirley, was to connect it to the systemic. And you know, it'd be interesting to talk to the future self about what she has to say about that if that past there was that underlying unhappiness, then what are the structural aspects? Some will be within your control, maybe we're in the past, but some are going to be these larger collective things that we're all part of that ideally are changing, that are going to impact all of us for the better out there in the future. It's going to take some time to get through that neutral zone and transition to get there. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Now I think it was Kirsten.
Yeah, thanks, Christina. Great stuff.
In Kenya. You're so nice and clear. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's the first time I've turned the video off. Maybe I should do that more often. So as you know, I had like my first future self exercise with you yesterday.
Yeah.
It was just a kind of worrying, not so happy spot that I started on. And so I wanted to share the learning today, which is for me just expanding on that facet of a vision from yesterday. And today I kind of took a different approach, and I drew a whole comic together. I think it's like 10, 20 images or so of a little person on a star doing a base jump kind of dive and then landing ninja-like on the feet and stuff like that. So it was great fun. And what I really like is that I had aspects of yesterday in it, worrisome parts of being cut away from family and stuff like that.
Yep.
But then the story continues today, and it's like future me taking me over some water and ocean and saying, come, and you know, like it's, I want to send it to you just for the fun of it.
Cool.
If you don't mind.
Please.
But it's just this aspect of making it really concrete today, and the pictures, and just having this, just listening to your voice and having the pen in the hand and seeing what happens, like no plans, no brains, no nothing, just seeing what happens. That
being
was
in
really
the moment with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it gave it a completely different twist, this moment thing, not focusing on the worry, but just seeing what happened, what happens at the moment. So yeah, so that's something I want to share, that these images can actually expand further in time. I have the same timeline that I had yesterday, but honestly, I feel like I've completed the partial picture of yesterday that was dominated by worry into something that's much more, it feels much more whole. So that's
beautiful. And it's reflecting that too, right? That this is right brain exercise. The right brain, the subconscious is reflecting back to you. Now where are you at? And the imagery shows that to you, and then you interpret it. And so 2 points. If you keep playing and coming back with this, like Kristen has, then see what happens with the ongoing connection and evolution. The second thing, I thought it was really interesting, and maybe you might want to share it, Kirsten, because you're one of those people that, you know, that deeper separation anxiety, abandonment stuff came up because you're in Kenya, and your family, your lineage roots are back in a European country, right? And travel-wise, nobody can travel right now. So that yesterday was evoking, and it may still to some extent, that's okay, evoking that kind of fear. But would you mind sharing the imagery of what came for you yesterday, as that was so present, and where your future self took you?
Sure, yeah. So yesterday, the imagery that came was basically sitting in my parents' tiny little village garden with my future self, and some blending kind of with my mom, whom I'm most worried about at this point, health-wise, etc. And I'm not sure if that's what you were asking, but today that's kind of also part of in the picture. Today this comic is like, you know, this little, it looks like the Little Prince in a way as I look at it right now, you know, like the story. So there's this little person in very loose clothes who's kind of traveling on a star and then taking a dive down and does really this very elegant landing on the floor in some nature, and meets her future self. And then future self takes her or me, or whatever, on some ocean wavy thing. And there's some movement in that. And then takes her by the hand and goes like, oh, say hi to your mom. And so there's this me sitting on the bench and just waving at my mom, and then going on. And then we go and touch a crystal ball, both of us, my future self and me, or some big glass, I would say crystal ball. And then she passes all these messages on. And then I'm kind of dancing. So that's my comic. And yesterday was nice. In there, but yesterday, this garden scene from yesterday is just a part in this whole thing.
It's evolved. Now it's got that thing met and connected you to it. And now it's extending from there. Yeah. And it'll be interesting for those of you who are experiencing that separation from your land or your people. And that can happen in lots of different ways, not just physically. How that plays out in your own imagery, if it does. So thanks, Kristen. Okay, let's do a couple more, and then I'm going to turn to the future self, or the orphan rescue, and tee that up, and then we'll conclude for today. Anybody else want to share about how that was to do the future self?
Hi, Christina. Can I share something?
Please. Hi, Kendra.
Hi. Yeah, this is awesome. And I just was really amazed, and it was just wonderful to see how many similarities that people were coming back with. Like when I was reading what people were saying about what they got from their higher self, it was like, wow, they sound like they're talking to my higher self. And there was this kind of collectiveness that collectively, it's like we all feel that the future is good and positive, that whenever we tap into our higher self, we get whatever that is, whether it's a year out, or for me, I went like 35 years into the future because I wanted to go beyond the veil and hear that version. But it was the same, you know, pretty much as what everybody else is saying. And really like you said earlier about the need to control all of this. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's what I'm seeing, that we're all sort of being asked to let go of, and just trust, you know, that everything's going to be okay, that our future selves have our back. And it's kind of the same thing, like if we went back in time, like what you do with us sometimes to go back to an orphan that needs comfort, it's the same situation where we have this new insight, this more positive frame of mind and reference. When we go back in time, we also carry this higher vibration. So it's just so cool how the future looks so positive when we do this. No matter what, no matter how far out we go, it's always positive and collective, and it really gave me a lot of peace.
And when you said you went 35 out and beyond the veil, do you mean after you died?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful. There's some powerful inner work, people. Yeah. Go do that. Try that one on for size and see what happens. Yeah. Super cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you for making the perfect segue to orphan rescue. So let me put that up. So yeah, so we time traveled in one direction. Here's another, this is also up there. So that future self map is up on that support page. And there's an ebook that helps you walk through it all. And, some of the things I did to help you lead you there is there. And you can direct other people to that too. Send them the ebook and they can do the same thing. I do ask that if you're going to use that stuff, please just keep it all as is, right? To maintain the integrity of the ebook and the maps. Anyway, so now that I wanted to anchor the future self first, because that, as you're seeing, the future self has that wisdom and intelligence and perspective. And it can come in handy for those of us who have some earlier aspects of ourselves that are stirred up. Not everybody does. So this next map may not be relevant for other people. For others, it's going to be super duper relevant. And so this is where, now that you've got your now self, and she or he has a certain kind of consciousness, and you've got that future self that's got a consciousness, and maybe even a future self that's got it beyond the future self, right? And looking at that emotional scale, if you're dropped down and you're in that very deep place of grief and anger and uncomfortableness, right? Where your body is just not doing good in the now, that's going to impact your immune system and everything, right? So we want to get your now calm. So one way to do it is go to the future. The other way to do it, and that'll take a layer off, but if you still notice that there's some stuff there, and there's just going to be some stuff there, right, because of what's going on. But if there's extra stuff there, this is where you need to get curious and go, so I did my future self, got myself settled that way. I'm still this particular, the way you can find it is out of the now situation. What's the stuff that really gets you, right? Like for me, I did one last night because I'm watching social media, and there's certain things that people do on social media, some of my colleagues in particular, that they do that I'm like, wah! And I start having conversations in my head about replying to them or putting posts on there, whatever. And I'm like, that's an orphan. Something inside of me is reacting to that particular thing. I can look at social media and a bunch of stuff doesn't bug me, but certain things bug me, right? Or certain people, like, politicians. Any of you are particularly triggered? There's certain population or politicians that trigger people. Use that to do your inner work, because we'll just name them. A lot of people get triggered by Trump. I in particular am not triggered by Trump, but a lot of people are. So there's an opportunity. If you're super duper triggered by Trump or any other of these figures that are dealing with this stuff, I'm not saying that to turn Trump into the perfect guy. I'm saying take advantage of the opportunity to do your inner work to figure out what about that is bugging the crap out of you. Because there's something that happened to you in the past that what Trump represents or is a symbol of, something occurred back there. It might just be in your adulthood. It might be in your adolescence. It might be in your childhood. And for those of your multidimensional people, it might be in some past life experience or something from the collective unconscious. And as you do the work, that's what this one, Orphan Rescue, is about, is you look for your triggers. And I'll come back next time. If you want to get into this soon, there's an ebook and a bunch of different examples you can watch. But basically, who inside is reacting. Notice where you have a lot of charge and where you get into your thing, right? and you start shaking your finger at somebody. And instead of doing that, go find a sheet of paper and you write out what the trigger is. So I saw so-and-so do this in social media, blah, blah, blah. Write that down. Then you're going to look at your now feelings, right? As you watch so-and-so doing that in social media, what's happening to you? Oh, I notice I'm putting my hands on my hips. I notice that there's something going on in the middle of my chest. I notice that I'm getting angry and I'm saying such and such, right? Write down all that stuff, and that is your interesting cocktail of emotions. So you're going to write down what's happening in the now. Now, a bunch of you, we just anchored your future self. So that's going to be an ally for you. There is another ally you can do. And in this process, it's what's the best part. Notice best part, not the worst part. But even in this now situation, you write your age down and say, what's the best part of being my current age? And it's a bit of a stretch right now, but if I put aside whatever, what's the best part about being my current age? Independence, freedom of mind and thought and expression, whatever it is for you. But that's going to be another anchor, is that your best part of being your current age, because we're going to go in and deal with these orphans, and sometimes it gets confusing because you become the orphan and you lose sight of your mature adult now self, and you might even lose sight of that future self. So we write this stuff down about what's the best part of being my current age, and we connect with the future self because they're our rescue allies. Because we're going to go in and we're going to find out, where have I felt this stuff before? Yes, I'm feeling it now. I have extra charge though, because I felt it somewhere else. So then you just let it, just like all of you did with the future self, you have this ability, as you focus on how you're feeling in the now, and you get that interesting list of cocktail of emotions and feelings, then you turn your focus to the past and you go, where's a match? Where have I felt this before? This interesting cocktail of emotions, where have I felt this? I look at Donald Trump, I feel da-da-da-da. Where have I felt that before? Boom, it's gonna bring you somewhere. Trust where it brings you. It might bring you multiple places. You might have a whole necklace there of different memories from your adulthood, from your adolescence, from your childhood, or you might just have one main one or just a couple of them. So as those flashes of, wow, I felt that same thing here, I felt that same thing here in your past, write them down. These are the memories, and the little circles put the age of the memory. That, my friends, there's some leftover business for you back there. Something didn't get handled well by yourself or by other people around you. You are an adult person now. You can go back and help that part of you handle it. And that younger you has a certain perspective. They were only as old as they were, and they only had the resources that they had. Okay, just like Jude was saying about the relatives who are older and come from a different time and place, and they only have the resources and mindset they have. Same thing for you and your orphans. So your now self, your best now self, and your future self is going to go back, and you'll see, and I'll come back next time and do this. It sounds all intellectual now, but I'm just talking to your left brains. And there is going to be a rescue. You're probably going to have to do some explaining to the younger self, because the younger self was in a situation that was hard for them to understand, and you have the edge on them in consciousness. So you can explain some things to them and give them perspective. Some orphans need to literally be rescued physically. And that means you're going to have to bring your orphan somewhere. You may want to bring them to your now self who's cocooning with this epidemic thing, and bring them into your safe little house. Or I would offer to you, since you made a connection with your future self might want to house them. So you're going to actually move them from these traumatic places in their past. It has to be negotiation. You're not doing it against their will. They have to give the okay. You'll see as you work through the protocol that there's ways to do that. But for some, those orphans are going to be brought somewhere into your now or into your future. And you're going to collapse that scenario behind you. I happen to have this really handy demolition crew who I have with my spirit animals and subtle energy beings who love, Ian in particular is the foreman. He's the deceased friend of mine who was a construction worker guy, and he loves to collapse scenarios. So I can sick Ian and his crew on to collapse these scenarios of yours in the past so you can never return to them again. This is soul retrieval work, people. Your little you back there has been emitting in that time and place forever, and time has moved on and it hasn't known it. So we go get them, we rescue them, we bring them up to the now, give them a new environment to grow in, and we collapse that old one. Your left brain is going to go, this is crazy, right? Like Shirley's left brain was saying as the future self. That's normal. Some of our left brains will do that. Others of us who are more right brain are going, I get it. Cool. Let me at it. Right? So if you're left brain, I just beg your willingness to give it a try. What do you got to lose? Right? You can go to the ebook that I have for this if you're ready to get into this now, and you can follow the directions and you can watch some of the example videos. I have lots of examples of orphan rescue. I've given you access to my whole orphan rescue page, which has the ebook and all those examples on it. So for those of you who are ready to get at it and get rescuing your orphans, you can dive in right now. And if you want to sign up for, if there's still some spots left and you have some orphans that need to be rescued and you'd like my help, sign up for one of those free coaching sessions if you're willing for your work to be recorded, because that way people can see this being done. And come back whenever the heck I have another one of these. I think it's probably going to be next Thursday, and I think we'll be doing orphan rescue. And so we'll do like we did here with the Future Self, we'll do a collective orphan rescue, which is going to be phenomenal to see the different places that you get triggered by in the current scenario and where that leads you back in time. And then what do you end up doing with your rescue? Do they go to you? Do they go to your future self, future self, or somewhere else? But let's get these little bits rescued, because life is going to go better for you and the people around you. And we are all connected in that subtle energy level. We're all one. So as we do this work, it's profound work for the collective, and we are doing our part, right? Sitting here in our quarantines, we're doing massive action by doing our inner work. So I thank you so much for what you did today, for your own benefit, for my benefit, for our benefit, and for what you're going to be doing with the orphan rescues. Those of you who do it, same thing. Helping you, helping me, helping us, helping the collective, so we can all get to our future selves. This is one of the ways we get here. This inner work stuff, this is work. For those of us who can't do or are also doing physical work and tactical, tangible things in the world to aid in our transition, we're aiding in our transition by doing this, everybody. So thank you. Okay, I'm going to officially close us there. Thank you for coming today. And this will be recorded and hopefully will benefit a larger ripple effect of people as they watch it. So thank you everybody for your energy and your goodwill to do this. And I will stick around for extra stuff if anybody's triggered and needs some help and it doesn't feel good to leave at this point in time. I'll stick around to help to assist if anybody's in that place. But if you're good and you're ready to roll and go do various things, maybe orphan rescue, thank you, goodbye. Feel free to pop up and say bye as you're leaving. Yeah, and let's send energy to everybody as we're leaving. Yay, like be well in the places you're planted. Take good care.
Bye.
Bye.
And Christina, this is Lynn in Vancouver. I have a question when
yeah,
you're ready
Lynn.
for it.
Yeah.
Well, first of all,
go for it.
Deep appreciation for this time spent together. I haven't connected with you in a while, and it's just lovely to step back into your energetic space and all that you offer the world. Really, so much appreciating that.
You're welcome. Thanks, Lynn. Thanks for coming. Good to see you too.
And my question actually is just intellectual curiosity, the last comment you made around our subtle energy and we're all one there. And I'm just wondering if it's Ken Wilber or what's the thread
Oh,
there for you?
yeah, for me, no. Although I appreciate Ken Wilber
Yeah.
tremendously. He was an early part in my path.
Mhm.
Non-dual teachings. So ones that I would direct you to, my teacher is Pamela Wilson.
Mm.
And she does online satsangs, and she does really remarkable work with inquiry. So Pamela Wilson, it's Pamela Satsang, SATSANG.com, I think is her site. So she's a good one for non-dual. Adyashanti,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he's another one I like. Anybody else have ones that those are the two that come to mind.
Yeah, super. Anyway, thank you very much for those resources. I can follow those threads later. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah.
You bet.
Yeah, we are all one. Some are ready for that and others aren't. That's okay.
Hi,
Yeah.
Christina, it's Lori. I just have a question if anything's popping up for you about the headache I've had for a couple days. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I do. I'm just kind of feeling into it to see if anything comes up.
Gotcha.
What's your future self say? I get a balloon like letting air out. It's like.
Okay. Okay, good.
So there's a bunch all pent up and probably think scenarios, trying to figure it out, and a bunch of feelings that haven't been processed. So it's like.
Okay, okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
But talk to your future self. I could be wrong, but that's what I get symbol wise. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. I will do that. Thanks so much.
Okay. Anybody else?
Christina, this is Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi there. I'm doing a lot of my inner work, and no matter what I do, I can't seem to get past the manic energy when I have like this much excitement going on. Like I'm all hands on, having a fantastic time and engaged with so many people, but the energy with which I'm doing things is manic. And I'm just wondering, now that you said that today, it's just like, this is orphan rescue, and I've known this all my life. So, I would love to do a session. Can we use our sessions from visual coaching still? Because I have one.
Oh yeah, you absolutely can. Yeah.
Are you still doing work though? Or are you just maxed out with this?
Oh no, it's okay, because the regular schedule is still the regular schedule, and you have the link to get in there. Okay. And then and I think you have time left in your 3:30s that you get with that program, eh? So by all means, go ahead and just book them back to back so we have enough time.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
So much.
And then others, you know, there's a link on the page. If they're not all full yet, you can get in and book time. Orphan Rescue is a perfect thing to do with the free sessions that I'm offering. Yeah. And I'll probably end up, you know, with these forums too, depending on what we do and how long they go. There will probably be orphan rescues I'll be able to do with people on the forum too, instead of just after I do a couple of collective ones where people understand. The people who are having a trickier time with it, I can help them. Okay, let me take a look. There's a question here to me privately. Okay, thanks, Luis. I look forward to meeting you and doing that work. Awesome. Just reading the comments. Good, Shirley. I'm glad you as a certified visual coach, you guys use your tools. This is the time. Use your tools with others. You know how to do it. Okay, Pat, I'm wondering if there's a way to save the chat. I think it does give a file to me. It may to you as a co-host. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to cherry pick out. You could do like at the beginning we did, where are you on the emotional scale? Let's get that. And then, you know, the questions, let's take out people's names. So the confidentiality, and then we kind of work through chunks as we went down, and we'll turn that into a document and we'll post it, because wisdom from the Future Selves was remarkable. We want to get that down for people. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Christine, it's Lynn again in Vancouver. You may have already said this and I didn't absorb it. Where do we go to find the follow-up pieces from our gathering today?
Yeah, I opened up, but I'll give it again. Pat, can you plunk the links in? So there's a page that's called Community Support off of Shift to Coach. Go there.
Super.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just posted it again.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah. That's where the recordings are posted. Also my YouTube channel, you'll find the recordings. All the visual tools are there. And also the link for, if you want to nab the one-to-one coaching, it's there. Great. Okay, anybody else? Going once, going twice. Don't be shy, unmute yourself. Otherwise you might just be waiting to see what's going to go on, and we might be there. So I think we'll close it out. Okay, take good care. Thanks everybody. Bye.